Hello, Overworld and Planet Earth. Welcome to episode 14 of Realm News. I am your humble host, the Dark Lord, the one who puts the real in realm and expands your mind one block at a time. I have an exciting episode today, folks. I have brought back a very familiar guest to Realm News, the Sun King himself. But guess what? Today he is not the Sun King. Today I present to you the artist known as Sam Howard, who I am also proud to say is my brother. Sam is responsible for Realm News' show cover, that amazing graphic or illustration, I should say, before you start listening to my podcast that you see right there, wherever you're listening to this podcast. He did a great job. And we are, in today's interview, I will be picking Sam's mind over art. Specifically, what inspired him to create art to begin with, what was the inspiration behind the Realm News cover illustration, and I will also discuss with Sam the Minecraft paintings and the man behind those iconic pieces of art in the game, Christoph Zetterstrand. You will hear about that artist and our opinions of the pixelated paintings in the game. With that said, let's get into the show, folks. I would like to welcome Sam Howard to the show, folks. Hey, man. How's it going, bro? Welcome back to Realm News.
It's going great. Really glad to be back, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing great. I'm excited for this episode today.
Me too. We're finally going to be talking my language.
Yes, and I just want to say, last time I had you on the show, you were, quote unquote, the Sun King of Farthia, but now today you are not the Sun King at all. You are, in fact, an artist and have been for some time. Besides being an artist for now Realm News,
Yeah,
you are my episodic cover artist. You created that fantastic one too, which we're going to delve into a little bit further. Yes. And I want to delve into that more depth later in the episode and the inspiration behind the Realm News cover and so forth. But first, I want to get into the beginning of this art segment that we are the main concentration topic of this show this week. And
all right,
tell me, bro, like, now you've been in art for quite some time. I want to know, can you tell the listeners what is your main concentration of art that you work on?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's right, listeners. I am a real person this time, not a digital avatar. Instead, in my measly studio instead of my grand kingdom. But the art that I'm focused on primarily is cartooning. So illustrating comic books, and I write my own comic books. And that's been my main focus for a while. I've worked in different mediums though. I've done sculpture, I've done glass blowing, I've painted for a long time.
Where'd you do all that at? The glass blowing?
That's cool. I went to college in my 20s for fine arts, and I learned a lot of great stuff taking some formal classes, because when you're a young artist and you want to draw or paint or whatever, it really can be unfocused and you just kind of throwing things at the wall until you see something stick. So to have, older artists and people more experienced sort of give you some boundaries and some rules. It's frustrating at first, but it really informs your art later, and it really adds to the bag of tricks that you can use as an artist.
More tools to your tool set.
Exactly, which the hubris, I would say, think of young artists, me especially, specifically me, is it's hard. It's hard to have boundaries. You want it to be fun. You want to just like take your pencil and just go nuts on the page and draw something here and there. And to kind of like really have to sit down and pull on those tools and use those tools formally and make sort of more professional images. It's it could be daunting. It could be a little intense to think, do I have to do this every time? The more you do it, the more it becomes exactly like how you drew when you were a kid. But it's you get more professional results all the time. So
I've seen some of your work and I really enjoy it. You know that, and
thank you.
I know that you've always been into the comic book realm, and aren't you currently developing something?
Yes. So most of my time, cartooning is a really, really great art form. I will add that it's probably the most frustrating one. Painting a painting is a single image, something meant to convey. Not that it's that's incredibly difficult, but with cartooning, you're drawing many images on one page. And even then, the project isn't finished. You have to draw many images on many pages until you reach the end, because a half-completed comic book is still an untold story. So it's a long art form. But yeah, I am currently working on a series called Striker, private investigation action comedy. Pretty simple stuff, I just want cool fight scenes, funny jokes, or as funny as I can make them, and dynamic images.
Yeah, you do have some dynamic images, as you can see in the cover that you created for the show.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah, that was a good assignment from you. I really got inspired.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. But back to your Striker, what kind of is that the medieval one that you've shown me?
No. So Striker is think Magnum PI. And for the listeners
that's right,
don't watch 80s television, Magnum PI is about Tom Magnum, and he's a private investigator in Hawaii. It's pretty simple. And so this is a similar vein, Detective Tom Striker. This is his first case, or not. He's been doing it a while, but this is the first case that we see. And it's like I said, it's an action comedy. I tried to pack as much action in there as I could. And it's just a fun action adventure book. Nearing the end too, so I've got my next idea already on the plate. But
no, that's awesome. I can't wait till you complete it. I want to see the whole thing. I told you I'd be the first one to buy it.
Absolutely, man. You'll get a proof copy. Don't worry. But this is actually the second series that I've really done. One I did during COVID was called Loincloth. And it was just an exercise to see how fast I could make something, but also had to all be things that I was interested in drawing, or a little challenging to me. And it's very surreal. It's hard to describe, but it's a 3-color comic book. It's blue and red and yellow, with just as classic a cartooning style as I could muster. And it's just sort of surreal, funny book about a journalist.
No, that's awesome. So when did you get into art? I know I'm your brother, but you've been doing this for a long time, and honestly, I'm not. Like, when did you get into it? What age?
The
young.
age, young. Well, we always drew. We would always fill notebooks, just with drawings and like characters, and we were always interested in telling stories. I mean, much like you are doing now, adding lore to Minecraft and us building our own stories from that game. Yeah, so I would hazard to say like 5 or 6 earlier,
Oh wow, that's
4
young.
maybe. I know I have a piece somewhere I drew in kindergarten that is pretty good, but about as early as you could.
Nice.
Yeah, our mom was always really good about that, and then she knew if she gave us a bunch of markers, we would just sit and draw for hours. So
Yeah, I would say she's the reason for our creative spirit.
definitely, definitely, man.
She instilled a lot of art into us, which is I'm very appreciative, as I'm sure you are as well.
Definitely, and a lot of she's really great at just letting kids play and just draw whatever images, and no
Yeah.
critiquing, and anything's good, and she's a painter herself. I mean, shit,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
very
Great
talented.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. I dropped the pencil at a young age and kind of went towards language.
Yes, which I would argue is a really creative use of your brain. I mean, you didn't abandon the creative arts. Obviously, starting this podcast, which to me you said you were going to do, and then it happened 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah. Well, thanks, bro. But let's get back on to you here.
Sure.
Okay, so you started about 5, kindergarten age.
Kindergarten, before, like as early as I could hold a pencil.
Well, so mom, our mother, Chris, instilled art into us, but that kind of so you got art young, but what is an artist that you start to take inspiration from?
Wow, good
Which was
question.
probably in your later years, I imagine, or who knows? I don't know. Maybe it
Sure.
was Bugs Bunny.
I mean, you mentioned Bug Bunny, and that was close to yeah, Looney Tunes and like Disney Channel. Um, those animators, that was like just a style that, well, obviously we watched a lot of when we were a kid.
Yes, we did.
But even TV shows like Ren and Stimpy, which
Yeah,
uh,
one of my
scandal
favorites.
noted on that guy. But yeah, the show itself was amazing. So it just
The drawings when they got
oh
hyper real is what I liked about it.
yeah,
Was
he would mix those realistic paintings that were just gross, but like the funniest thing a kid could see. And
kind of like Invader Zim.
Invader Zim was a great one for sure. But yeah, Ren and Stimpy, and I remember hearing the creator, and like I mentioned, Scandal noted, not a great guy, but not a good
Yeah.
guy at all. But but he had a rule for his animators. He would not ever let them draw the same faces on Ren and Stimpy. Similar, but
Oh,
he would. That's why it looks so manic and insane.
wow. I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah, cool little trick, uh, especially to remember for young cartoonists or people who want to work in comic books or illustrate books in general. Uh,
That's really interesting.
yeah, try have dynamic faces. And I admire all art. I'm really not trying to critique anybody too heavily, but there's definitely some like Superman comics or Batman comics you can pick up where you're or Justice League, and you're like, okay, all these guys kind of look the same,
Yeah.
similar
Yeah.
faces. So humanity is different. Um, Objects all have their own shape and things. So like taking that rule of never drawing the same face again, like always have your character mixed up in different emotions and stuff, and that reads really well for people. People relate to that.
I I would have never thought of that. I never heard of that either, and I didn't know anything about the artist and his scandals. So that's all intriguing. Wow.
Yeah, there's a documentary about him, which I hadn't heard about him, but I was mostly watching because of nostalgia for the show.
Yeah,
But yeah, I encourage the listeners to check that out. Be warned, there's some heavy
it is
themes.
heavily adult themed
Yeah,
in those shows. Well, all of them in the '90s were.
we we really had less of a line on. Well, they had to sneak in things for the boring parents, so
Yeah, I
that's
guess
why these
so.
are kind of rewatchable. We could watch them now as adults and
So
understand a little better.
are you saying that you took inspiration from a culmination of all those cartoons, Disney, Nickelodeon, all those growing up? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say young. That's because we grew up kind of in the country, and there weren't really comic book shops or anything around for
No.
to look at. So, and it wasn't. I already mentioned our mother, our mom. She was definitely encouraging. She would have taken us to a comic book shop or whatever. There just wasn't even.
They didn't exist.
They weren't in my sphere. Yeah, no one at middle school or junior high were passing around comics. It was just kind of not non-existent.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like,
those, and I would say, like Alice in Wonderland and those good books that have, chapter illustrations and black and
yeah.
white illustrations.
Hmm.
And you can even tell from the logo that I made you that I'm kind of inspired by contours and, clear colors and sort
Yeah, I
of,
love the coloring you do.
yeah, sort of, Disney-esque. Not that I'm going to put myself on the level of Disney animators. Oh boy. But, but yeah, I feel like I have a good inspiration in that. And then later, um, I discovered like Daniel Clowes, who's a really talented cartoonist and who has had several of his books adapted, like Ghost World, the movie.
I'm
Um,
unfamiliar.
yeah, it's a Steve Buscemi's in it. Actually, it's from the '90s,
Okay.
I think. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward, comedy drama about two girls, but it's really skillfully drawn. Um, it's simple, quick. It just everything I look for. David Lapham, who does the comic book Stray Bullets, which is a sprawling crime epic where
Oh
each
wow.
chapter sort of focuses on different characters and it all sort of circles this orbit of this mob boss who you don't see and
Oh wow.
still haven't. So and Alex Toth and like all the old uh 40s and 50s. Alex Toth designed Space Ghost for old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, uh, Yogi Bear, stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Flintstones,
Okay.
yeah. But
You,
he
you,
did
you
he did
named one
comic
I
books.
knew.
Right. But yeah, he did comics, and I think probably what I'd share with all of those that list of inspiration would be uh, clear image, um, and simplified somewhat.
Yeah.
Uh, unlike some painters who I feel like we're going to touch on, who can do very detailed and really wonderful uh, paintings and realistic depictions of people and landscapes. And
Yeah.
I do enjoy drawing in a more simplified style that where each line counts very much and adds a little detail.
Yes, I something I've always been passionate about when it comes to paintings are landscapes myself, and I've always loved impressionism
Oh
and
yeah.
even surrealism and just that hyper real looking art where it looks like somebody like a photograph, like
Yes.
that just blows my mind to me that just right there shows the professionalism of that artist and like just how talented they are.
I,
Like that just blows my mind because
agreed.
I can't paint, so I can't draw or paint, so I have a high appreciation for people that can do it, like you and Zetterstrand that we're going to talk about later.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
I
master.
and when I lived in France, I was very fortunate to get to go to the Louvre and Musée
Ah,
d'Orsay and see
so
all
jealous.
that stuff. That was amazing, bro.
So jealous.
I you, you should go over there. But
I
man,
definitely.
so you listed a bunch of artists from even cartoons that you got inspired from. Now, how did that influence your work? I guess you were mentioning colors and lines from
Yeah.
a couple artists. So
Yeah. So mostly I would say so in cartooning specifically. there are specific tricks to that are very similar to tricks that would be used in painting and things. And animation even has their own set of rules that's different than cartooning. But I would say probably what I picked up on the most is energy. As far as energy, I mean, because it's a static image, but as far as energy,
Oh,
a lean, proper anatomy, which, you know, if I want the character to begin running, then I need his shoulders to be leaning forward and him to be moving into a lope. If I want him full speed, there's a few ways I could draw him even lower because momentum is carrying him, and just things like that.
more aerodynamic look.
Yeah, just more energy and poses and how do people stand, you know, because I could sometimes see uh, where you just have a character's head in multiple panels talking, and that can work. That works. Um, but to me, in the work that I do, cartooning, I want each panel to sort of be a different shot. So I want it to be close up on his face, then I want it to be in the sky looking down at him. You know,
Yeah.
close up of a car, rear view mirror reflecting him. So you sort of have a panel within a panel. Um, and there's a great this is for everybody that's interested in cartooning. You need to print it out and hang it on your bedroom wall or whatever, where you can look at it while you're doing your art. It's Wally Wood's 22 panels that always work.
Okay.
And this is an artist who worked at Marvel in the
Wally
early
Woods.
Wally Wood. Yep, Wallace
Okay.
Wood.
Gotcha.
And he worked for Marvel, worked for a lot of like adventure magazines, drawing superhero stuff. Really beautiful art, a lot of horror tales and stuff when those were popular. You know, sort of like Twilight Zone-y, little short
Nice.
issues. But 22 panels that always work. I think it's 22. Is something he drew for the younger artists who would struggle and always come to him and ask, like, these are just two characters talking. I don't know what to draw. And I make this look cool. And so he's like, I'm sick of it. And he just drew
Oh my
22
God.
panels. And it's just, you can take these and you can apply them however you want. But some of the basics are full figure looking down at a puddle in an alley, a lake. It's a reflection, and then you see his reflection stretch out towards the panel, and there's just really cool shots. So it's a good resource for people who are struggling with. I have to have these characters talking. I just want to draw them fighting, you know, because it's
Wow.
necessary for a story to have everything slow down every once in a while and have people communicate.
Almost like a song. You have to have that calm and then some tension and whatnot to make it keep it interesting,
Ex-
right?
exactly.
And
And you're the musician, so
well,
yeah.
that's almost reminds me that Wally Wood, it sounds like he created a recipe or kind of something for artists to go by. And that reminded me from my guitar lessons, learning the 12 bar blues is a recipe, just generalized recipe. Like you can throw any notes in this and make a song, you know?
Exactly. And the beauty of it is when you see this, you can start seeing it in comic books because it's still used today. They're just classic shots that are always cool looking and always dynamic. Same as what you were saying about the blues rhythm that you learned. You can modify it though, can't you?
Yeah, you can modify any music almost. I
Like
mean,
yeah.
more rigid recipes, quote unquote, but a lot of them are loose to interpretation and whatnot.
Yes, and that ties back around to what I was saying with when I went to college and going from not having any art lessons or really understanding it, but just having a passion for drawing and art, and them adding, hey, here's this rhythm. First, you're barely trying to play it, and then after a while, comes naturally to you, and then you can start messing with it.
But in art, there's just so many techniques and media you can apply. I imagine that's mind-boggling. And I wanted to ask you what is the media that you prefer, and what are some of your techniques?
Ooh, the medium I prefer for the last couple of years has been digital. I have an Apple iPad, which I bought on sale. I highly recommend getting a deal because they can be expensive. I totally
Yes.
understood that. And I bought iPencil. I can't iPad pencil. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's the Apple specific one. And then $15 for the Procreate app, and
You
that
were telling me
is
about that.
yeah, uh, it's less daunting than Photoshop, and it's more artist friendly. It was designed for the artist in mind, and I really find, and they've been continually updating it, and it's only $15 once. You don't have to pay a subscription, which most digital art programs, you can get some good free ones.
And by the way, we don't work for Procreate.
No, 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 definitely not. This is not a sponsorship, but I use it personally, and I find it's a good thing. But well, similar to Photoshop, I think Procreate should be more synonymous with digital art. There are differences between it and Photoshop, but I think um, for what it is, they have a good philosophy for us. Um, Prior to that, I was pen and paper. I like
Yeah.
I like the Pigma microns. Those are really classic. You can get them at
Yes.
any art store. They're really good archival ink. They dry quickly, so they don't smudge.
Good to know.
Yeah, and then watercolors. Uh,
I never got into that. I know the Micron um, pins, but yeah, the watercolors I never got into.
yeah, watercolors. So, um, I haven't priced this in a while because I bought several notebooks, but at Walmart you could get a good 9 by 12 30 sheet thick toothy watercolor paper for under $10. Again, I don't know if it is now that price.
That's cheap.
Yes. So which is valuable because especially when you're just trying to learn watercolor, and you can watch all the YouTube videos, and it's like watching someone repair a car. If you don't know what you're doing, it's just, oh, you take this, screw that, and then there you
Yeah,
have a beautiful painting. So to have something cheap but still quality that you can do a lot of sketches and hone your abilities is good. And I also, as far as watercolor paint, I just use, again, I think Walmart or Michael's, just whatever cheap tubes of watercolor I can get, because it's more about how you mix the colors. I'm sure there's a lot in the nitty gritty of this brand is a more vivid color, or this brand is thicker. Um, but again, I'm trying to hone my skills and practice, and being able to have cheap paints, affordable paints. Let's say
that
affordable.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and then just go nuts, because even acrylics, which are great, are a little more expensive. Watercolors are the cheap alternative, and you can paint over the microns, and the black line still holds.
Oh,
Um,
neat.
yeah, but with any painting, really, color mixing is what you're. If you're a young person who's like sees Zetterland, for example, and wants to paint like him, um, it's going to be a lot of color mixing, because you're trying to make
Love
these. Yeah, and then, well, that's why you can see paintings that are sometimes just all brush strokes.
True.
Very loose. When you stand back, you see the scene totally. When you step forward, you just see thick brush strokes.
Kind of like Monet.
Monet, perfect example.
He was
Uh,
also going blind though
uh,
at the end of his life.
but going back to my inspiration with Disney and everything, and simplicity, those each of those brush strokes was insanely important to give the effect of the image that he wanted. Simple seeming, but that's a lot of color mixing, making sure you have the exact right color for. Did Monet do the haystacks?
I believe so. Yes, he
I
did.
think
He was really famous for the lily pads. That
yes.
Japanese, the Japanese pond with the bridge going over it.
Yes, beautiful, gorgeous. I love that because to me that is masterful.
And I got to see that back in November. His exhibit was going on at the Nelson
Oh,
Atkins, Kansas City, and it was amazing to see.
whoa, that's oof. I mean, that's a master. I really always the more simplified, and that's not to mean like a stick figure, although a stick figure could be it, but the more simplified, the more easy something looks and it still looks beautiful, the more masterful the artist is. When you can convey something in two brushstrokes that takes somebody else, 15, and you have the same effect and beautiful colors and things like that, is always, I'm so impressed. And that's what I ultimately I'm trying to get to with the Disney animators as well, is that they can, I mean, Mickey Mouse is iconic. Just,
Yes, yeah, he is.
simple though, very simple, but iconic.
But you sent me a very short uh animation. You're starting to get in on it, on your digital art into animation.
Yeah, I am.
Very, I don't know how far you've delved into that, but I know that you're playing around with it.
I'm playing around with it. I've slowed down a little bit because I have enough to work on. But
Yeah, you don't want to take on too much.
no, but I'll say this too for most young artists, because speaking specifically from me and from a few other artists that I know and I've talked with about this, uh, it's sometimes detrimental when you are, young and you find that you like drawing one type of face and it looks really good. And then you start focusing in on that one type of face rather than exploring all sorts of different things. Because even doing a completely different medium will add something or a dimension to what you're doing as what you would say is your favorite medium, like mine is drawing. And so me doing this animation thing, and I even mentioned this to you, really broke me out of a rut. And it's, for the listeners, it's a really small clip that loops of pretty simple, almost 70s Milton Glaser looking illustration. Man in a fedora, blue, simple colors, just walking.
I think it's neat. I'm sure you felt kind of like God when you hit the anime. It made him walk, huh?
I did. It was really cool. And it made me think of simplicity because I had to draw this guy just for that animation. I had to draw him probably 35 times. You know,
Yeah,
same guy.
that'd be tough.
Well, it really broke me out of. It can be daunting to look at a blank page, so sometimes you check your phone 20 times.
Writer's block
Is that TV on? Yeah, or
or
you
block, mental blocks.
a block. Yes, and I don't uh, tend to usually, that doesn't affect me very often because I'm more often I'm more often stuck with an overflow, if this makes any sense.
No, totally get it. With my podcast, I can hardly keep up with my ideas.
Exactly. So, I'll do I want to draw this page of this book that I already wrote out and I need to do, or I can just get a blank page and just sort of jam out some wild faces and crazy creatures and like some trees or something. And so I'm always, but this drawing that guy over and over again for animation really did kind of break me out of uh, rut drawing figures. And I was like, oh, okay, back to the
Nice.
joy of drawing, people again and getting back into that. So, I think just always explore every type of visual medium you can figure out if that's your thing. Um, and it'll be rewarding and it'll help you. Painting technique come into my drawing a lot, like economy of brush stroke and things like that.
So you were talking about getting that helped you get out of a rut. So not quite a segue, but what's the biggest challenge to you when you create your art?
Oh,
You said you don't really get mental blocks, which is amazing because sometimes I don't really get mental blocks. It's more of I get low energy. Like I'm just tired. It's
Yeah,
more of like my brain doesn't want to think.
yeah, agreed. And that's why I find when I don't know how this would relate to podcasting, but maybe it is just taking a break. But yeah, I find um, I draw every day, but I find, like I mentioned, just drawing other things and like different faces and different ways of drawing faces, or trying to draw a landscape
Yeah.
than just silhouette, black and white. Um, kind of just going back to the toolkit and being like, all right, well, let me see how dynamic of a silhouette I can make.
Yeah.
Light and dark contrast is a huge tool that uh, is so important to artists. Hot and cold, light and dark. Those contrasts really just sharpen an image. You'll see it in photography and movies especially. Um, it just makes it more dynamic. It's just draws the human eye.
No, I agree with you.
But challenging. Okay, so challenges. Sorry, to get back to your question, would be the with cartooning. It would be the writing.
Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't think about that. I was thinking about, yeah, I didn't even think about the writing aspect of it.
yeah, because I can draw for days and I love it, but I have to have the characters doing something. So in order to
Yeah.
tell a story, um, with a with a painting, you are just doing dynamic images, and sometimes you're including words and sentences, but most often you're just creating that dynamic image that stands on its own. Good contrast, good posing, good framing. Uh, but yeah, with cartooning and
It might,
storytelling.
a painting can invoke a story, but it's not really truly telling you frame by frame.
Oh, certainly, certainly, and well, and even with many characters, you can understand, like there's a lot of great Renaissance paintings of Roman legends of, like,
Mm-hmm.
Sisyphus and other uh, things where you can see it, and oh yeah, there's the story. And the same, exactly what you said. It's an evocation, whereas cartooning is
Literal telling of.
yeah. And even then, I'm stopping myself because there's some surreal comic books that evoke more of a feeling than they do make sense as a story. Um, so yeah, cartooning is a very um, it can be as surreal and insane and make no sense as some of the most surrealist paintings. But yeah, I'd say the writing. I really um, that struggle with that the
That's
most, because
true.
again, same with drawing, and back to my inspiration, economy of words. You know, I usually write and then rewrite and then go through and I cut out everything I can cut out for the sentence to still make sense. You know what I mean?
Brevity is key to comics, isn't it?
Absolutely. Everything. Great writing. I mean, think of some of our greatest writers, Hemingway, um,
True.
uh, Faulkner, Cormac McCarthy. I love Cormac McCarthy.
To the point.
But to the point, yeah, well, even Cormac McCarthy, he's just
Oh,
periods and commas. He doesn't use quotations, and I don't know this for a fact, but to me, the feeling I get from that is that the focus isn't on you're not supposed to go and look at just the dialogue. He doesn't say he said, she said. He sweeps you along,
no,
and then you
exactly.
get the dialogue through the story. So try and get all of those ideas. I try and wrap all those up into what I do as cartooning, um, because I want people to be swept up, and I want to do things that are specific to cartooning and things like that. So
No, I understand that. Yeah, and I'm glad that no, I wouldn't have thought about the writing aspect of comics. So I'm glad I asked you that question. But
yeah, absolutely.
what motivates you to keep producing this?
Oh, can't stop.
Just in you, right?
Huh?
It's just in you, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I've been drawing my whole life, so I can't imagine not doing it. And it's just the most that I can draw is cartooning. You draw the most images, and I love writing and I love stories. So um,
Yeah,
uh,
we've been.
that idea to tell, like, I have ideas and things that I just want to express, and they're in the form of stories. And this is the most natural way to combine my two loves, because at one point I was writing a lot more than I was drawing.
Yes, I remember that. I remember you being much more of a into the writing field.
Yes. And so to marry these two, where the image takes up a lot of the storytelling, or finding a mixture of the two, and there's a lot of really poetic and beautiful um, books that illustrate this blend really well. I'd say the Hellboy comics are probably my favorite, and
Okay.
that sounds crazy to put them up next to Cormac McCarthy, for example, but it's Mike Mignola, the creator, writer, and cartoonist.
Mm-hmm.
He A lot of his images are from classical paintings,
Yep.
Renaissance paintings. So all of his framing, even if it's a giant gorilla that they put a human brain in, the villains, is still like can be drawn from something in his inspiration, and very poetic, some of his stories.
Oh wow, I guess I'll have to check those out.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'll send you a couple.
Um, so what are some of your future goals? I want to ask you that before we move on to the next part of the show when we start getting into the Minecraft paintings and Zetterstrand.
Yeah, definitely. My goals, I'm still just plugging away, finishing this book Striker. I'm rounding the home base on that, so I'm almost finished with that. Then from there, I don't know if I'll seek a publisher or just self-publish. I'm just really trying to reach the finish line. Then I'll be planning my next book, which I just have to compile a bunch of notes. But you mentioned earlier, I'm the new resident artist of Realm News,
Of
so
course.
making making images for your episodes and things like that.
I've had like 4 others offer to have your position, and I was like, no, I have an artist already.
Sorry.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, happy to do it. I love the art of Minecraft, and was really inspired to do your logo.
I love the logo. And we're going to talk about that further into the show after Zetterstrand. But yeah,
Happy to.
I'm going to pick your mind on the inspiration behind all that.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
With that said, bro, I had a couple more questions, but I'm going to omit those because I want to get into the next part of the show.
Okay, absolutely.
And we're going to take a quick break, all you listeners. You won't even notice, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in like a millisecond to your ears. I'll see you in a second, brother.
All right, bye.
Bye. And we're back. Wow, that was fast. I would like to now transition to the next part of the show, bro, if I may, to the realm part, everybody. We're back into Minecraft. We are pivoting over to the world of Minecraft art, specifically the paintings in Minecraft. Those amazing pixelated oddities that we hang up to bring some culture into our desolate landscape and our bland buildings. Now, I personally find these to be fantastically thought provoking, bro. And there's an artist that we can thank for that. One specific artist named Christoph Zetterstrand, who this dude made most of the 26 total paintings available in the overworld, from a variety of sizes ranging from 1x1 blocks to 4x4 blocks in surface area. And Sam, as an artist, I want your take on these paintings and what you think about the artist, Mr. Zetterstrand. What is your generic opinion on these Minecraft works of art, bro?
I mean,
What is your opinion?
you kind of nailed it, man. You kind of nailed it right at the top.
Thought-provoking.
Thought provoking.
They are. It's crazy.
Insanely dynamic. Uh, great posing. Great use of light and dark, real and pixelated, which is, you know, what you're attempting to do with your podcast, which is bring the real to Realm News.
Yes.
And I think Zetterland does this magnificently.
And I didn't know this is how he did it. Do you want to explain a little bit that what you're talking about, the real to the like the real to Minecraft in art?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't get mentioned yet, but the paintings that are in Minecraft, most of them except for one, I think.
Yeah, the and that's the Wither, I believe, right?
The Wither, yeah. I think most people, or most people that have studied this, agree that the Wither was Minecraft generated by the developers.
Digital art, pure
yes,
digital.
Yes. But I encourage all the listeners, please give this guy a look this guy up.
I'll have
Zetterland.
links. I'll have links.
Perfect. But all the paintings in Minecraft, besides that one, the Wither, were his real life art.
Amazing.
Right? Amazing.
I didn't know any of this, man. Like until I just one day where did this come from?
Right. You know? Right. And that's what the funnest part about it is. I thought initially, just looking at the paintings, I thought they were developed by the Minecraft developers and the artists they have there, and they were just doing a play on that realism versus that pixelation.
But it's so odd, some of these, bro. Like when you first hang up a painting, you don't expect to see a skull with flames coming out of it with a hand with a match or whatever that is.
But doesn't that perfectly evoke the world of Minecraft?
Yeah, no hand in that. But no, it does. It just makes me laugh. But
some of them are so wildly surreal and fantastic and just entertaining and thought provoking. Is you nailed it right up top. But yeah, the artist Christoph Zetterstrand, he had been. This is the sort of style and interest that his paintings have taken, which are. Specifically, in one of my favorites is kind of the twist on the creation of Adam, where you have the blocky figure, the pixelated figure in like the karate gi or the jujitsu gi or what have you, with his black belt, ready to fight, just like in those old side-scrolling fighting video games. And then you have this insane, beautifully realistically rendered human hand reaching out, and he's touching it, and it's that play on the creation of Adam that Michelangelo made so famous.
Oh wow!
And, yeah, the you know, but it also evokes the idea of Minecraft perfectly, but you know, video games in general, which I'm not entirely sure if that's what he was meaning to intuit, but that's how I take it. Is, you know, that human hand controls that little Street Fighter character, and to have them meet sort of on a snowy plain is wild to look at, but like really just a cool, surreal image to look at. A castle in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I love his art. I do too. And doing research on this artist, Christopher Zetterstrand, I started watching and listening to podcasts and his interviews, and I just grew to love this artist because I like how he approaches art, how he started. I don't know, back in the 90s, I believe, he really fell in love with how video games and graphics on computers would glitch, exposing the elements of how they were made. Almost, wow. And from what I gather, it's almost like exposing the artist himself, you know, through that. And he loved. I'm kind of paraphrasing this from one of the many articles, but he he really loves that tension it brings. Like when you
Yeah,
are enveloped in a game and all of a sudden you're enveloped in it, you're for that moment in time, you're in that game. Like that is your world. And then if it glitches or freezes, that breaks that fourth wall or whatever you want to call it,
totally.
and shatters that reality. And when I was reading and doing all this, he originally starts his designs on his 3D on his computer and then translates that over into oil paints from what.
That's right. Yeah, I saw that same video, and I was fascinated to learn that, but also great for the listeners. Uh, he's mixing mediums to create his final piece. He's starting it here on a 3D render, printing it out, gritting it out on his canvas, and then making these wonderful images that I totally see exactly his inspiration. That's such a wonderful. You could see how honed he is in that idea because these images are so dynamic and they draw you in so totally. Yeah, what a cool juxtaposition.
It, in all those being in Minecraft, all those but one are actual real oil
Yeah.
paintings, and that's what blows my mind. That he pixelated them down. I don't know if that's the correct technical term, but they're so shrunk down and pixelated that I didn't know those were real images.
No,
I had no clue. That brings so much more to these paintings. Like when I saw the real ones compared to the blurriness of the one by ones, the smaller
yes.
paintings, I was like, that's a very intricate looking landscape.
And now you can't unsee it. But and you might want to speak of the history with this artist has with the company of Minecraft and specifically the creator Notch. But uh,
Yeah, I
for
guess those two knew each other from what I've read at early age, which is
absolutely
fascinating.
insane. Absolutely insane. And that I wonder if that. Well, I mean, that had to have been one of the seeds of their friendship. But amazing that he developed his art in this way that so perfectly fits. They just pixelated it. I like that word. They just pixelated it and put it in. And you to speak earlier to what I was speaking about as far as economy of brush strokes and color mixing and things. Even the one by ones, when you pixelate them down, you might not be able to know what they are until you look at them side by side. But once you see them side by side, you will be able to see that in
Yeah.
the one by one paintings because you're like, well, that's what he was. He has it there. The colors, the depth, even pixelated, you can still like, whoa, get it after you see them side by
Yeah,
side.
once you see it, it's just like, oh, okay. How did I not see that? But now I see it.
Yes, I love it, and and you bringing that up actually just light bulbed in my head a little idea of doesn't that fit us the players though? Because we're the only uh, creatures in each of these realms that can manipulate the environment and trap creatures and things like that. So for him to have that idea and to carry it forward and all of his work and to really hone it down to these gorgeous images, uh, I think that's just an amazing way that crossroaded together for this very talented painter to be painting these types of images.
Yeah.
It's the perfect confluence of ideas, and especially since they knew each other.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting fact. And he is a very talented artist. I just looking online and at all the stuff he's done and the video I saw on his website that I'll put as a link here.
Nice.
It's just really cool that because he provides a YouTube video, and it shows his process or part of it of how he kind of does his art through the computer, the design, and how he moves it to get different perspectives of it, and then he can play with it. From what he was saying, he can revisit his worlds at any time. Just in his computer, he has thousands of them he's created, and
Wow.
he can just move them or I think combine them or do whatever and play around and actually like visit little worlds. It's not just like a still frame. It's like it's its own thing. And it's
Wow.
yeah. And then he, like you said, he mixes after he's satisfied with his process of making the three-dimensional whatever he wants on the computer. He does that himself on oil painting. Like,
That's, and I have one successful oil paint I've ever done. It's a self-portrait. It's creepy to me, but
oh yeah,
it's my face.
the one you gave
But
mom.
yeah, exactly.
I love that one. Everybody loves that. It looks, you did good.
Thank you. Yeah, best oil paint that, and I hung up my oil paints because it's a masterful medium and it takes a lot of time, more than pen and paper, which is my preferred. But yeah, that was a photo taken of me, and I gridded out the photo, 2 lines running vertical and 2 lines running horizontal, creating a 6x6 grid, and that is a play on the golden ratio. And from there, I just, you draw each grid as an image, like the artist Chuck Close, who has face blindness, and he makes gigantic portraits of celebrities. And when you see it from afar, you're like, that's John Lennon. You walk up close and you see thousands of small images, because that's how he interprets faces. But they make up a very realistic portrait. But that's a really great way for young artists to draw portraits or self-portraits, is grid it off and then draw each one as close as you can to the eye. Life drawing is one of your most valuable skills, learning to draw from reality.
I think that takes immense talent to be able to do that.
Oh, I mean, and that's what creates these wonderful images that Zetterstrand can create. Is he? You're telling me from that article you read, was his big inspiration was the glitch?
Well, a lot of that, he seemed inspired by the tension that like the glitching in computer or video games would create to the player,
which he creates perfectly. Like the image with the angel and the rock and the background, and the angel's hanging off of this cuboid ledge, and there's a fire underneath it.
Yeah.
In this dark void. If you look at the real painting, the angel is very classically portrayed, classical as far as like a Renaissance painting.
Yeah, and he got a lot of inspiration from Renaissance painting.
That also, for young artists, can't stress that enough. Go back to those old masters.
I love them. Personally, I think they look great. Old Renaissance paintings, and just that time era. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not an artist, I'm not. I don't know the correct terminology, but I do really appreciate that type.
Oh yeah, just the lighting they did.
I love the lighting. It's something beautiful about the lighting.
Yeah. Well, we lost the Roman classical ideals during the Dark Ages, and that's when art became really flat. You're more than familiar with medieval, like chivalric images of knights, and they're very flat and
yes,
mostly black and white, or really simple, plain colors,
very two-dimensional.
Exactly. And then we had the Renaissance and this rebirth of lighting and proportion and ratio, perspective. All of these things are tools that, like I said, can be a pain when you're haven't been doing them for a while. But I encourage you just every once in a while to start adding perspective to a drawing or a sketch, trying to figure out a light source on a sketch or a drawing. And then just try and incorporate that more. And after a time, you'll find that it's just natural for you to think that way. So more fun and dynamic.
So back to Zetterstrand real quick. What's your favorite one in the game?
Ooh. You sent me the questions beforehand. Spoiler, listeners. Very basic rundown, but this was the hardest question.
I thought so too. You want me to tell you mine real quick, or do you know? Okay.
What's yours?
It's kind of tied. His original one, I don't know if you're aware, is that skull with the flames, and
I love that one.
That one is cool. It's just it makes you, yes, like I said, thought provoking, but it's also like, what the hell's going on here? Like, this is a Minecraft game. What? Now it feels like I'm on
Gothic.
acid trip. No,
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah, it's gothic and nuts. It's just the dark background sitting on a field, this flaming skull, the mountain barely lit by the moon, the economy of colors.
yeah,
That's an easy. I won't even fault you. That
but
could easily be anyone's
but I
favorite.
think my favorite is it's called the Wonder. I don't know. It's the person in black in like a snow. It looks like snow, right? It's a
huh?
it stands straight up. I think it's a 2x2. It's thin and stands up. But
Yeah.
to me, it reminds me of Christopher Walken in Wonder. I have a poster that an
Nice.
old boss gave me. It's called Christopher Walken in Wonderland.
I like that. That's awesome.
But no, I really like that one. I don't know why the person just looks really ominous because it's just a dark, shadowy figure in a snowy background. But I
Ooh.
saw the real photograph of it, and it's actually a very detailed one of a guy on top of a peak of a snowy mountain looking. So I mean, that's my favorite. What's yours?
Okay, so I'm also going to do a couple.
Are you on your laptop?
I am right now.
Okay,
Yes.
I can hear you typing.
Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to pull up the one that I'm want to talk about.
Okay.
I'd say probably the bust, where it's the
Yes, like the marble.
black background, sort of a classic Roman-looking bust, flames all around, hidden by blocky cutout of just sort of looks like a green pasture. It's just really gothic, like I think a lot of his paintings are for this, with their dark backgrounds. But yeah, the realism of the bust and
Very Greek.
very Greek. But I think it fits the world, because the world is more uh, uh, Western medieval. Um,
It does feel that way because of the armor and the swords and all that.
the villagers and the natural villages kind of evoke more of like a medieval England.
It does to me.
And this being Roman is kind of a little exotic ish, but still very classical. And then I would probably say my second one and my primary one is the creation of Adam one that I mentioned earlier with the Street Fighter esque
I
like
do like that one.
character. Yeah, I just think when you're talking tension and having those characters connect and then evoking the video game sense with the classical sense and then having that forest and snowy backdrop with the silhouette of the castle, no details, and you can tell it's just a gray day and this mythical occurrence is happening between
The hand.
a very realistic hand and this pixelated warrior meeting. And I just that uh, I think speaks to that tension, speaks to our relationships to video games, and specifically to have that in Minecraft, because nobody looks like no one's wearing a karate gi in in Minecraft either. So he sort of stands out as a
Well, it really
modern fighter. It's very interesting to me.
well, it can also provoke a lot of theories too, you know. I can only imagine. I haven't even looked into that, but to me these paintings in the game, and you kind of said this, it brings the real into the game because of these hands that are just intruding all of a sudden that aren't pixelated or as pixelated, or the skull that's not as pixelated. It's and a lot of these to me give me the emotion of like Doom because there's flames in most of this. Like in the world, as you know, when we enter the game, is chaos. It's a zombie
Oh,
apocalypse with hideous monsters of who knows how they got there. It's
unknown origin.
so these paintings to me reflect the world of what we're currently going through, this chaos, this rebuilding, like these that I believe that bust has the nose chipped off it, right? That to me suggests antiquity. Yeah,
Agreed. Yeah, totally, bro. The content that his art has taken is so wonderfully evocative of the game, and that's what I meant earlier when I said it's what a strange confluence. Uh, for them to be friends, for him to develop this art style that I think is, I thought up until, I started learning about this artist, that the developers just made so that they could evoke the feeling that they wanted. But to find out a different artist
Well,
tangentially working on a similar art style as this game evokes in me, when chaos and fun, but dark and ominous, like you mentioned. It is wonderful tension. Tension is a great word for it.
Well, it's also a very lonely world. Everybody knows that. It's creepy. It's creepy with like a melodic tone to it,
Yeah, peaceful, creepy. Yeah,
It's a peaceful creepy. They somehow managed to do that.
Yes, and I think that's what his art has. It's fun.
I can feel the tension in the art for sure.
Oh, definitely, it's fun, but yeah, it's ominous. It's dark. If you look into it, or if you glance at it, you see, Renaissance painting, very well done,
With a pig.
With a pig, and the pig face is not the original painting.
And he said that he did that obviously on purpose. That from his he just wanted to go ahead and throw in some of those Minecraft themes into it.
Well, yeah, his original painting is the same Renaissance woman, same background, but she's holding up long white. It looks like a page of paper, and
really?
she's pointing at the basic pixel colors, as if she's like educating people. So they put the pig face over that, the blocks of color. So it's changed slightly, but hey, fits the world. You're gonna run into pigs out there.
Yeah, but it's so unusual.
So unusual, such a strange.
It looks just so weird. I
100% agree. And what makes to really see this juxtaposition after hearing this podcast, listeners, see if you can't find a Wither painting and put it up next to one of Zetterstrand's, and you'll really get the fact that
it's my least favorite.
Agreed, 100%.
Because
agreed.
There's nothing to think about.
No, there's none of that dynamism or
depth,
gothic, death, ominous feeling. It's just kind of, hey, yeah, that's a Minecraft monster. While all the other ones that Zetterstrand worked on, you can really feel his vision and his
symbolism.
A lot of symbolism. Beautiful.
That's just tons of symbolism in his stuff. I love personally breaking away from the Minecraft paintings for a second. I love the one of him. I don't know where I saw it online. Maybe it was, but him at his computer, but staring at you like you came in and intruded his workspace.
Yeah,
typing. It makes you feel uneasy. It's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, didn't mean to be here. but
he does a good job with that.
Truly takes skill to make something subtly make you feel, especially in a single image.
Yes,
do the feeling like you're intruding on him when clearly it's a painting. That's just a masterful painting, an image. It takes so much skill to be able to produce something so it grabs you so wholeheartedly.
No, I agree, and I think he's a master at what I like the word subtle, giving those subtle feelings. And that makes you have to think further because you have to identify what you're feeling. Like, it's like, why do I feel this way, and why is this Minecraft painting making me feel this way?
Yes, and that's great art.
Video games aren't supposed to make me think.
Yeah, I don't want to feel.
I'm joking.
I just want to escape. But no, that's everything we've discussed up to this point. He's a master of framing, color choices, content, tension. I love that you brought up tension because that can be such a great thing when you have hands almost touching.
Listen to this quote of his I wrote down.
Okay.
And let me think while we're along the lines of tension. He goes, this quote I got, freedom to improvise can only be had if you also have rules, and I enjoy having a painting with 4 corners.
Hey.
I like that.
Wow.
That's why I wrote it down with a pen.
All right. Do a little sketch down there too. Um, that's wonderful to hear. That really speaks to what I was talking about earlier, and uh, being sort of unbound without any way of thinking artistically can be very rewarding for a few. But when you start to impose rules, I think having
It
a well thought out idea is imposing rules on yourself, because if you have an idea and it's a really great idea for a painting, a book, or whatever, and you start and you don't adhere to rules or even that ideal, you'll wind up with something totally different than what you intended. And sometimes that can be wonderful, and sometimes that's what you need to do to break out of a rut. But most of the time, to create something like Zetterstrand is creating, you need to impose rules on yourself.
I
You
think
know,
everybody does for any type of art. Like you
I
can't write a paper without rules. It'd just be words scattered across. I
100%
wouldn't be
agree.
able to make a coherent podcast without rules.
No, you just be rambling, and those imposed rules, when you run up against, when you want to do something opposite of the rules that you have established, and you can't because of the rules in your head for your idea, for what you're trying to execute, then that makes you get smarter about your idea. It makes you pivot. It makes you, okay, I can't have them do this,
Your
but
limit.
what can I have them do? What can I, okay, I can't put uh this pose over here because that doesn't work to the idea that I had. So what can I do now? And that has always been the most fruitful way of creating to me. And like you said, to you as well, and probably most anyone that tries to do something creative, is stick to your idea, impose some rules on yourself.
Yeah, to me, and from what I got to me personally from this, like having rules, like even throwing for me, for example, some certain timeline on a podcast, which I shatter every time I interview you, uh, is that's just an example, but by putting a timeline on a show, for example, that puts a limit on me, and that's with any rule. But with those limits, you also have a more defined space to work with, and that I think allows you the creativity because you just have this to work with. Now, how can I make this great? Or what can I do with it?
Agreed.
You know what I mean? You have to have limitations and rules. Otherwise, like you said, you're just you're
Totally.
just gurgling out of your mouth, or you're just slapping your hand on the keyboard. And
Totally. And I'll say, to maybe something a little more common, than some obscurities of art in the art world. The TV show MASH. Their whole thesis was, people
say
joking.
mash.
MASH, the TV show. But I
Wow,
mean,
I didn't know. I wasn't expecting MASH to be brought onto this.
yeah, it just
That's
well, just briefly, because it was a very popular show at its time, and it's
yes.
still a brilliant show. Is that its thesis, its grand idea is, uh, these surgeons in this mobile army surgical hospital have an awful job in the Korean War of facing trauma all the time, and so in their downtime, they're goofball jokesters, and so you have that tension, that balance, that you have an intense surgery, and then afterwards, Hawkeye, the main character, is just trying to drink some martinis and relax, but he keeps getting interrupted. Just they it's they use it in every creative medium. They impose any great show, any great idea. Someone has imposed limits on it to make that a more focused idea. So it truly applies to every creative field.
No, I I agree with you.
Yeah, sculptors too. Great sculptors will say, uh, the 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 figure was in the block of marble. I just had to chip everything else away. I can't remember who said that, but
It wasn't Michelangelo, was it?
oof, could have been. It's
I don't know. I can't
one of the
remember,
greats.
bro. Hey,
But
no, Zetterstrand. I fell in love with his art. I'm glad I researched this, and I'm glad that you sent me that link. That initially got me a bunch of information on him. Then I just went down a rabbit hole with that guy.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his art. Having learned that the Minecraft paintings are based on real, full paintings, and then being able to kind of delve into his world and his art has been a privilege for sure. What a cool Easter egg to have in the game for something I never knew.
And I would love if I could possibly get him to be a guest on this show. I think that would be amazing. And I told you I emailed him, but I totally understand that he's probably super busy. And
Oh, for sure. But hey,
I think it'd be amazing to get his direct perspective on the Minecraft art,
100%. That would be amazing to hear. Even 10-minute interview between you two.
I think
would be amazing, because what an immensely talented person. Just truly blows me away.
So if you're listening, Mr. Christopher Zetterstrand, you're more than welcome to be a guest on my show anytime. And with that said, I want to move on to the next part. I want to get in. We're still on Minecraft art, but it's your Minecraft art now, Sam. I want to talk about the album cover you created that everybody sees before they listen to my beautiful voice.
Yes, and
tell me about it exactly, because I don't even know exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't judge me next to Mr. Zetterstrand. He is immensely more talented than me in creating single images. But I am very proud of the podcast cover I made for you, or album cover, or art. Yeah. But it had real life inspiration, similar to what Mr. Zetterstrand, what he draws from. I was inspired by a piece by Francisco de Goya, the masterful painter. I urge you to look him up. He did
an etching,
right? Venus devouring his son. He's done a bunch of famous pieces that people know.
Okay.
But this etching in particular looked like a pen and ink etching. I'm not sure exactly what it was for what book it was for, but the piece is called "The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters."
Yes, and interesting title.
Very cool title. And very similar to the art on this episode cover and most. It has a person, a figure asleep on their desk, having fallen asleep. In the de Goya etching, it's looks like someone writing, like they'd stayed up all night writing. And in the original piece behind them, and it's black and white. It's more simple. Of course, he's a master, so it's much more masterful than what I could have produced. But there's monsters coming out behind him as if he's dreaming of them. So I kept the same central figure, the sleeping rider, but in your case, the sleeping podcaster.
I love it. The Dark Lord.
The Dark Lord at his desk, recording content for you listeners. He fell asleep. And behind him, in the original etching, there's more, I want to say, kind of ambiguous darkness in like a hatching form that kind of evokes smoke that these monsters are coming out of behind him. But in your album cover, I broke it and pixelated it behind him and sort of cut the image out behind him to create that tension and that juxtaposition of a more organic form, the sleeping podcaster, in front of this more pixelated Minecrafty dream he's having. And I wanted it to be in color. I struggled with leaving it in black and white and trying to do something there, but I just instead went with a simple contrast of cool and hot. So the sleeping podcaster. Yeah.
No, I love the colors, man. The cool and hot look great.
Good, I'm glad. Well, and you saw it in its earliest form when I just had two colors on it.
It looked good then too.
Yeah, it still had that same idea.
Yeah, the guy asleep in front of the mic is you did. You hit it. The reel of the show with the realm, everything.
And that's a
You
big
yeah.
mention that I wanted to bring was your show's tagline, bringing the real to the realm.
You encapsulated it perfectly.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
I can't wait to see, and you're going to make more for me. You're going to be making individual episode album covers like the Wandering Trader.
Yeah, excited about that.
Zombies, the Nether, Enderman. Do you have some ideas?
I do. I do. I very similar to Zetterstrand, and I want to stress I wasn't unaware that he was a real artist before I had the idea of putting an organic form in front of more pixelated forms.
Yeah, you weren't even
couldn't be happier to be in his company. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you weren't even aware of Mr. Zetterstrand when you made that for me.
No, and that's I'm telling you, any young artists, that's just tools you acquire that can lead artists to similar paths and similar ideas. But it turns out me and Zetterstrand, his is much better in execution than mine, but of having a similar idea of contrast of hot and cold, light and dark. So yeah, we both are just pulling from the same toolkit. We're just using our tools a little bit differently as far as style and stylistically. But yeah, so for the Wandering Trader, immediately when you discuss this with me, I think I said something along the lines of like, "Oh yeah, that'll be easy."
Yeah, I can't wait to see the Wandering Trader.
Well, I'm gonna draw a lot from Renaissance art again, but there's a few paintings, and I struggle to think of their names, so it's going to take a little research. But of peasants going on pilgrimage and things like that. Since our Wandering Trader is a pilgrim without a home, so to speak.
There's a lot of theories about this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nitwit.
I said that to you before I even knew the theory. I was like, what if he's the nitwit? Because
I looked at him the other day. He does have a green jacket on underneath that robe and everything.
Well, and because I mentioned to you and how large my kingdom is, I don't have nitwits anymore. Yeah. And I read something a long time ago. So I'm not saying this is credible. I'm saying this is something that had stuck in my head, listeners. So be gentle. But that if you get over a certain population in your village, the villagers sort of just vote to exile the nitwit.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, people stay tuned for my Wandering Trader episode. It's going to be pretty cool. That'll be like next month or a little bit later. You got some time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, I already have some ideas and pulling from because you just by the very nature of your show, bro, is that tension, is that contrast, is that like we're trying to bring the real world into Minecraft and help that inform your fun with the game.
Yeah.
So that, but in and of itself, gives me a lot of just natural inspiration for those ideas. So yeah, going to be a lot of great art coming up for those.
Yeah, and you have full creative rights, or I mean, just all you have to do is stick to the theme. I'm giving you full reign over however it looks. So, I mean, I'm excited to see all that.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun, dynamic, cool art for everyone to check out and hopefully get their thought process going about what type of lore they want to bring in and the history of real life can inspire you in the game to build something or start a village that looks like a specific village. Yeah, we're gonna keep the theme going.
Heck yeah. Well, bro, I'm kind of at the end of the show here. I just have one more question for you.
Sure.
Where is it that people can find your work of art?
So the best place right now, as I'm still setting up a shop, the best way to find me is my Instagram, and that's SAMHWRD22 at Instagram. Give me a follow there. You can read my first issue of my comic Loincloth there. You can look at some of my older, less polished paintings, because I want people to know that I'm growing. I'm still growing in my art style and things, and that's okay to be a little rough to begin with.
My episode 1 out there.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about this yesterday. I find comfort in seeing the artist's hand in something. Warts. Whatever. I like seeing that.
This isn't AI image.
No.
This is actual. This is actual art.
Boo! Yeah, we practice. Practice makes art.
Realm News does not support AI art. Sorry.
No,
we support human art in Realm News.
Exactly, human art. People, if you wanna do some beautiful art, please just. There's so many resources online. Learn the tools. Learn the tools that. Look at Zetterstrand's beautiful paintings. Look at my album cover, and you can see the difference. But the similar toolkit. You can see a master, and you can see someone who is still learning. I'm still acquiring tools, but we still came to a similar idea. Albeit one is much more masterful, and one is different in form. But that's just. I encourage you to find those tools and just practice with them. And it will be rough, but the human hand, even if it's rough, has more value.
And collect all 26 of the Minecraft paintings. It just takes.
Please.
It takes 1 block of wool, and let me see here, 8 sticks.
Easy stuff.
That's easy. I had to say one thing for you to use. That's useful information for Minecraft.
Oh yeah. Okay, okay. To close out, then I'll give one Minecraft specific tip that I've been doing. Is over the doors in my village, I've been hanging 1-by-1 paintings, and they look like signposts, and I think it adds a certain element of artistry, and like these villagers are caring for their homes and they're adding paintings. Even if I did it, when I walk through the village, I like seeing that. So.
I love that, and plus you can make hidden entrances with paintings. Because you can walk through them.
I have several of those. We should have mentioned that way earlier. Yeah, please.
Well, we're mentioning it now.
Yeah, we made it in time. Yeah, everybody, 2 signposts and a painting. You can make a hidden doorway. Very cool, like really cool thing to lore build.
And you can make a museum. Like if you heard the interview with the Sun King episode, then that whole episode took place in Sam's museum that we all helped build, and you have all 26 of them hung up in there, right? You have all 26 of Mr. Zetterstrand's paintings there, right?
Yes, I am. Now that I know it's Mr. Zetterstrand who created them, I'm even more. I'm tempted to put signposts down in front of them with the name and the painting and the artist.
That's a great idea, man. That's
no credit where credit's due. Yeah, but yes, I do have every one hanging in my gallery, on display for the people of Farthia. They can wander through. I have a librarian in there who's the steward. I even have a cat. Museum cat that hangs out in there, and it's just wonderfully atmospheric and just a fun place to walk through and show off to people when they come and visit.
No, absolutely it is. And I want to at least build a small museum in my realm someday.
Absolutely. Let me know. Well, I'll hop on and help. You helped a great deal with mine.
Heck yeah. But hey, we'll get to that. There's plenty of time. And I just want to say that everybody concludes this week's episode of Realm News. And Sam, I just want to thank you for being part of the show again, bro.
Of course. Anytime you want me, we can always talk Minecraft for hours, bro. You know we do it already. So
yes,
want me back.
No, thanks for. No, you're a great. Just having you as a guest of the show because you have so much insight about art and whatnot. So you're perfect for this episode. So I'm really happy you're able to do it, find time and be part of the show.
Oh yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah, like I said, this is always a blast. It's this is how listeners. This is how we talk about Minecraft in our daily lives. It's always wonderful to be here and to share whatever weird tips I got for the crafters out there.
Well, and thanks for making all the Well, and thanks for being the artist for the show and making that amazing cover out.
Oh, absolutely. More good stuff to come.
It really makes the show pop, I think.
I agree. But but yeah, more good stuff to come. Definitely. Yes. Pay attention to those album covers. Everybody, you'll see them change here soon as we get this up and running.
And with that being said, people, I urge you all to go to a museum or art gallery or pick up that paintbrush or pencil yourself and get to making your own art. And until next Thursday, keep exploring and crafting. The Dark Lord signing out. And Sam, I will see you, man.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk soon, bro.
Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this episode, please follow me wherever you listen to podcasts. That could be Apple, Spotify, Podbean. I'm everywhere. Just type in Realm News. I will pop right up. And if you follow me, you can get my latest episodes sent directly to you. Send this podcast to all of your friends that love Minecraft and have a thirst for knowledge. They'll get a kick out of the show. And also comment on each episode and take the poll. I always or typically put a poll associated. I believe these are only on my Spotify, so you may have to go to Spotify for the polls and the comment section. I apologize for that. But don't forget to do that. And don't forget to rate the show, please. By you rating it will help me know where to improve on it. You can also reach me at bio.link/Realm News. There you will find the Discord. Let's build a Realm News community, folks. I want to build a huge Discord where people can share all sorts of Minecraft-related content and have real discussions. You can also find my email at that bio link and all my other social networks. There you will find some of the cool articles and videos from my research, polls, and other Minecraft-related content.